And we're going to talk about Caitlin Clark constantly to elevate ourselves, but also trigger her fans so that they'll keep coming to games and rooting for her, and it's going to elevate the entire league. I'm honestly starting to think there's a strategy to this madness. There's a method to this madness.
Monica McNutt recently claimed that Caitlin Clark's popularity is simply because she's a white girl from Middle America, completely ignoring her record-shattering performances, deep logo-range threes, the wave of new fans she's bringing to the sport, and her undeniable impact on revolutionizing women's basketball. Really, that take feels incredibly short-sighted.
Here's Monica McNutt, ESPN broadcaster, covers the WNBA. Not a bad broadcaster, but she just can't help herself. When given a chance to talk about Caitlin Clark, they're always going to racialize it and try to demonize Caitlin Clark's fan base.
In this video, we're calling out a ridiculous take that's got the entire basketball world buzzing. We're also breaking down Jason Whitlock's savage response that left Monica McNutt reeling. The disrespect toward Caitlin Clark has reached a whole new level, and it's time we talk about what's really going on. Ready for the truth? Let's get into it.
Why her?
Same thing.
Why her?
Well, I was just about to say same thing for Angel Reese when I had a chance to cover their games, but I think Caitlin represented, and again, some of this to me probably is not fair to her because it was not anything that she said or was truly based on her personality, but she was a white girl from the middle of America.
Did Monica McNutt seriously try to reduce the most electrifying player in women's basketball to nothing more than her appearance and where she's from? In a BBC interview with Caddy K, McNutt claimed Caitlin Clark's popularity is simply because she's a white girl from Middle America, completely dismissing her elite skills and historic accomplishments. The backlash was instant. Fans flooded social media, slamming McNutt for downplaying Clark's massive impact on the game.
And so she represented a whole lot to a lot of people, whether that is truly what she prescribed to or not. We can all say she is a dynamic basketball player and a force both on the court and the marketing sense. But I do think same thing with folks that may have fallen in love with Angel Reese that she may or may not have agreed with everything they had to say either. We attach our fandom to these icons for all types of reasons.
Let's get one thing straight. Caitlin Clark isn't drawing record-breaking viewership because of her demographic. She's doing it by dominating on the court. She's shattered NCAA scoring records, pulls up from the logo with ease, drops no-look dimes that would make Larry Bird nod in approval, and runs the floor with a vision that lifts her entire team. Even Magic Johnson has given her flowers. But instead of celebrating that, Monica McNutt chose to reduce it all to race.
Perhaps Caitlin Clark is relatable and popular, and people want to see her play because she's exciting as heck to watch, and because she's not filled with anger. People are attracted to joy. Why was Magic Johnson so popular? Black, white, whatever. The man played with joy. Biggest smile on his face, happy-go-lucky Magic Johnson. Everybody loved him.
Fans were furious. One user on X called for action, demanding fire her, while another didn't hold back. This woman only shares bad takes. I have no idea why she's even on ESPN. And it wasn't just one group speaking out. Basketball lovers from all backgrounds came together, standing up for Caitlin Clark and defending her rightful place as a generational talent.
Let's put this in its proper perspective. When I think about Caitlin Clark, the operative word that comes to my mind is gratitude. There's an incredible level of gratitude that should be accorded to this young lady with what she did for the sport. That's not to take anything away from anybody else, but I often argue, when I've argued with folks about this, you think NBA players shouldn't be thankful to Magic Johnson? You think NBA players shouldn't be thankful to Larry Bird? You think NBA players shouldn't be thankful to Michael Jordan? Because guess what? There were great players that were in the sport before they ever arrived, who did everything they could to make the NBA what it was. But it was when those brothers arrived that it took on an extra dimension and elevated to another level.
What's most telling about McNutt's take is what she conveniently ignores. If being a white girl from Middle America were all it took to achieve Caitlin Clark level fame, then why haven't stars like Kelsey Plum, Sabrina Ionescu, Sue Bird, or Cameron Brink reached the same spotlight? These athletes check the same boxes in terms of background and appearance, but they haven't generated the same buzz. Clearly, Clark's appeal runs way deeper than surface-level assumptions.
Sabrina, Brianna,
Kelsey. I mean, Diana Taurasi. You had and have these white players in the league that never galvanized the people like this. All right. Now, granted, you can have some people come back and say, well, the media and the coverage wasn't as good as it is now. NILs and things like that weren't popping off. That has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with it, man. If they were that captivating, they would have got the eye.
The irony couldn't be more obvious. In trying to champion representation in sports, McNutt ended up tearing down one of the most influential female athletes the game has ever seen. She reduced Caitlin Clark's relentless work ethic, elite talent, and historic achievements to nothing more than her identity, completely missing the very point she claims to stand for in women's sports.
And then when you add in that she shoots logo threes, passes the ball like Magic Johnson and Pistol Pete Maravich, scores a lot of points, leads the league in assists, that like she's a great player, and she plays and shoots and releases the ball like Steph Curry. So there's the attraction to the exciting style of play.
The backlash against McNutt has been fierce, so much so that fans are now calling on ESPN to reassess her position. Her failure to acknowledge the real basketball reasons behind Caitlin Clark's popularity has sparked serious questions about the credibility and objectivity of today's sports commentary. In an era where analysis carries real weight, accountability matters more than ever. What's even more telling? Fans from all walks of life have rallied behind Clark, proving that her impact goes far beyond race or background. This moment is a powerful reminder that sports have the power to unite, not divide.
They can't have that discussion, and so they keep it real simple. And they give simplistic answers because they're not willing to have the true discussion about why Caitlin Clark is so popular. She reflects values that are relatable to kids who come from two-parent homes. That's regardless of color. Kids that come from two-parent homes can relate to Caitlin Clark because they have more in common with her values and the way she presents herself.
This problem goes far beyond one misguided interview. McNutt's dismissive stance toward Caitlin Clark has been a recurring issue for years. The roots of this controversy stretch back to 2024, when McNutt boldly claimed that Clark deserved only 60% of the credit for the Indiana Fever making the playoffs, a player who single-handedly transformed the franchise. This wasn't an isolated comment, it marked the beginning of a troubling pattern that raises serious questions about McNutt's perspective on Clark's impact.
She's been spectacular and exceeded expectations. The pick and roll between Caitlin and Aaliyah has been fantastic. Kelsey Mitchell is having a career year, and all of those role players get a slice. I don't know quite how.
Well, that's a lot of pizza pie. I get you. But there's got to be one big slice, and that's Clark. What percentage are we talking about for Caitlin Clark? 80%, 90%, 95%?
I mean, listening to her all season long, I've called a couple of their games, she's team first. Statistically, you're probably looking at least 60%.
McNutt's bias becomes painfully clear when you look at her stance on the Rookie of the Year race. When it came down to Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese, McNutt openly showed favoritism, stating her decision would depend on team standings, completely disregarding the long-standing tradition of awarding the honor based on individual performance. This wasn't about upholding established criteria. It seemed like McNutt was creating new standards just to deny Clark the recognition she clearly deserved. As Caitlin Clark continued to dominate statistically, McNutt shifted her focus to team success, only to change her tune again when Clark's team started winning. Once Clark improved defensively, McNutt set new standards to critique her. For someone who claims to be an unbiased analyst, McNutt's handling of Clark's performance seems less like a fair evaluation and more like a biased judgment, constantly searching for reasons to undermine her rather than acknowledging her undeniable greatness.
So we have the conversation with colleagues and friends, Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, and my larger point in the conversation was the tenor and the prevailing narrative that has been created around this season's WNBA play is that it's the league versus Caitlin Clark, and that is just absolutely false. It is unfair to the women that have been there building this league to this moment so that Caitlin Clark's popularity could take it to the next level.
What's especially frustrating is the glaring double standard in how McNutt treats different players. When it comes to Caitlin Clark, her enthusiasm vanishes. Her body language shifts, her tone turns critical, and she becomes one of Clark's harshest detractors. In panel discussions about Clark's accomplishments, McNutt's discomfort is palpable, almost as if she's reluctant to acknowledge Clark's undeniable impact on the game. This isn't just a personal perspective. McNutt represents the old guard, threatened by Clark's ability to draw new fans to women's basketball. These established media voices have built their platforms around certain narratives about the WNBA, and Clark's meteoric rise challenges everything they've promoted. McNutt's objections aren't about Clark's talent, they're about resisting a shift in the landscape that Clark embodies.
To me, yeah, jealous, sure. I mean, would you be jealous of somebody that got $28 million a shoe deal or whatever the deal is before you step foot in the pros?
As anti-Clark narratives gained momentum, the backlash was about to face its most significant challenge. Jason Whitlock stepped in with a bold, unfiltered perspective that forced everyone to confront the deeper issues within the WNBA's marketing strategy. On his show, Fearless, Whitlock tackled the heart of the debate directly, bringing the conversation to a whole new level.
There's that kernel and element of truth that Caitlin Clark and all the little suburban white girls that have hopped on board with the WNBA have hopped on board because Caitlin Clark she resonates with them.
While Whitlock's language was provocative, his message struck a chord with many fans who felt frustrated by what they saw as bias against Caitlin Clark, driven by an underlying agenda. He went further by portraying Clark as a relatable figure the league seemed reluctant to fully embrace. Someone who plays with joy, not anger or entitlement. She's not playing with anger, she's not playing with entitlement, Whitlock emphasized, suggesting that Clark embodies values that resonate with audiences who have felt alienated by the WNBA's dominant narratives.
She's not playing with anger. She's not playing with a sense of entitlement. And yes, people find that relatable. And Monica McNutt with the liberal white woman here, they're not prepared to have that conversation that there's a demographic filled with anger and entitlement and a victimhood mentality that people, regardless of color, who are not filled with anger, who are not filled with entitlement, who are not filled with a victimhood mentality.
The reaction to Whitlock's remarks exposed a clear divide in fan perceptions of the WNBA's marketing approach. Many supporters backed his assessment, with one fan on X noting, "Yes, people find that relatable." Another pointed out that Clark embodies values that resonate with kids from all backgrounds. These responses underscore a significant disconnect between the league's current messaging and a large portion of potential viewers. Whitlock's intervention is significant not just for the controversy it stirred, but for revealing the paradox at the heart of this debate. The WNBA finds itself in a difficult position, celebrating Caitlin Clark's remarkable ability to attract new fans while allowing commentators like McNutt to undermine the very qualities that make her so appealing. The uncomfortable truth Whitlock exposed is that the league seems caught between two conflicting visions. One that embraces Clark's broad appeal to help expand women's basketball, and another that seeks to downplay her influence in order to protect established power structures and narratives.
She's not Angel Reese, who can barely make a layup. She's not Asia Wilson, who is 6'4" or 6'5" and completely unrelatable to most women. You know what percentage of women are 6'4" or 6'5"? It's a tiny, 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 infinitesimal percentage. That's not relatable.
This debate has exposed deep cracks in the WNBA's marketing strategy. By allowing analysts like McNutt to reduce Caitlin Clark's popularity to mere race, the league risks alienating the very diverse audience segments that Clark has successfully connected with. The irony is clear. Clark's appeal transcends racial boundaries. Both McNutt and some aspects of Whitlock's argument fail to recognize that her draw isn't limited to suburban white fans. It resonates with basketball lovers from all walks of life, drawn to her electrifying style, fierce competitiveness, and genuine passion for the game. Embracing this broad appeal could be a game changer for the league.
You get the energy that you put out. You put out this angry, entitled, I'm mad at the world energy. People aren't attracted to you, other than other angry, entitled people. So we're moving into Kate hate season. Everybody's looking for their relevance through Caitlin Clark. I am right now. I like talking about Caitlin Clark. Yes, she pissed me off this offseason, but I like talking about her because what she represents, the conversation she sparks, speaks to the larger culture.
Caitlin Clark's electrifying style and fierce competitiveness aren't just drawing fans, they're setting the stage for something much bigger in Indianapolis. The Indiana Fever, a franchise that hasn't seen a championship in over a decade, is quietly building a roster that could soon make a serious impact on the WNBA. While commentators get caught up in manufactured controversies, the Fever are laying the groundwork to become the league's next powerhouse. This team is overflowing with untapped potential, driven in large part by Caitlin Clark, a generational talent who led the league in assists last year while averaging 19 points per game. She's already earned accolades as an All-Star, All-WNBA, and Rookie of the Year, setting the stage for even greater impact. Alongside her is Aaliyah Boston, steadily becoming a dominant force in the paint and giving the Fever a true post threat that many teams lack. Add Kelsey Mitchell's exceptional scoring ability into the mix, and the Fever are building the foundation for a seriously potent offensive juggernaut. Moreover, Lexi Hall's rise as a reliable two-way player is flying under the radar. She's gaining confidence at the perfect time, bringing hustle and grit during critical stretches. This young, promising core is further bolstered by a proactive front office, which has made key offseason moves to signal their intent to contend. The additions of Dana Bonner and Natasha Howard bring invaluable championship experience and defensive intensity, while Sophie Cunningham boosts their shooting depth. Veterans Sydney Colson and Brianna Turner add crucial leadership and defensive prowess, turning this roster from solid to potentially great.
Sydney Colson is a two-time WNBA champion, a true vet, an amazing backup point guard. And anytime that CC or any of the guards need to go to the bench, Sydney Colson always makes the right call, always makes the right decision. So to pick up a vet, a professional like Sydney Colson, and then you also have a vet like Dewana Bonner, and you also have a vet like Kelsey Mitchell, and then you have CC and Aaliyah Boston and Lexi.
What truly sets this rebuild apart is the seamless synergy developing among the players. Last season, the pick-and-roll connection between Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston already showed flashes of brilliance, with Clark's pinpoint passing setting up easy scores for Boston. As their chemistry continues to grow, this duo could become one of the most unstoppable offensive forces in the league. Defenses have already struggled with Clark's shooting range, and now they'll have to contend with multiple threats at every position. Coach Stephanie White has shared her thoughts on this exciting partnership, and it's clear the potential is limitless.
When you think about the great point guards and post players that our game, not just our league, but our game has seen, they are going to go as the greatest. And I'm excited about the opportunity to work with them. I'm excited about the opportunity that we have to build from those starting points and build out, and for the longevity that those two could have in Indiana, in Indianapolis, and hanging banners in this building.
With 41 nationally televised games next season, this young team will be under the spotlight like never before. Such exposure brings immense pressure, but it also accelerates player development. Athletes tend to rise to the occasion when the basketball world is watching. The Fever's style of play is evolving to fully leverage their unique talents, promising a faster-paced offense that thrives on Caitlin Clark's exceptional transition passing and deep shooting range. The days of the slow-paced fever are behind them. They'll push the tempo, space the floor, and create mismatches that leave opponents scrambling. With defensive upgrades from their new acquisitions, they're shaping up to be a well-rounded, two-way powerhouse capable of making a deep playoff run.
Still want our players to use their instincts and to play free. You know, we want to make plays, not run plays, right? We want to have sets that give us certain spacing that we want, depending upon our rotations, who's on the floor, who we want to attack, what matchups we want to get to, how can we manipulate them. So we'll have certain play calls that just give us space to operate. And then whichever play we make, whichever pass we make determines, one of three actions that our players can read from. And so really giving them the freedom to play within a system.
Conservative projections have the Fever ranked among the top 3 teams next season, but this assessment may underestimate the depth of talent emerging in Indianapolis. This team has true championship potential, marking one of the most remarkable turnarounds in recent WNBA history. The numbers tell the story of the Caitlin Clark effect. Viewership and attendance are soaring, not because of superficial qualities that critics like McNutt focus on, but because Clark's electrifying style of play genuinely captivates audiences. What we're witnessing is more than the impact of one player. It's a transformative moment for women's basketball. The Indiana Fever is leading a cultural shift, drawing in new fans from diverse backgrounds and bringing fresh energy to the sport. While critics keep voicing their opinions, Caitlin Clark will continue making logo shots, executing jaw-dropping passes, and attracting more eyes to the game she loves. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out more content on screen now.